Let's call this meeting of the Aurora City Council for September 24th, 2024 to order. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Alderman Barrero.
Here.
Alderwoman Garza.
Here.
Alderman Masiacos.
Present.
Alderman Donnell.
Here.
Alderman Franco.
Here.
Alderman Seville.
Here.
Alderman Tolliver.
Here.
Alderwoman Smith.
Here.
Alderman Bug.
Here.
Alderwoman Bade.
Here.
Alderman Lash.
Here.
Alderman Warman.
Here.
Mayor Evans present.
Is there a motion to approve the appointment of
moved.
Sergeant of Arms for this meeting? Motion made by Alderman Smith, second by Alderman Garza. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries by voice vote. Mr. Muhammad.
And I'll stand for the pledge, will be led by the mayor, followed by an invocation by Ward 9 Alderman Edward Bugg. Thank you, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father God, we come before you this evening. We come before you to do the work and will of the people of the city of Aurora. Please give us infinite wisdom and guidance. Bless and hold up all of our first responders, our police, fire, those who have served in the military, and those who continue to serve. Wisdom and honesty is what we bid for you today. We pray all this in the name of your Son. Amen.
Amen.
Take it you were not told about that.
Mr. Muhammad, Mayor's Office of Community Affairs presentation.
Good evening again, Mayor and City Council, as we come to the end of the third quarter, kicking off a new fourth quarter. It's been quite a busy month. So I want to take this opportunity without any recognition presentations to recognize some of the things that have happened this last month, particularly from a media perspective, from a television media perspective. We definitely thank our paper media, the Beacon News and what Steve Lord does and Daily Herald and The Voice and The Patch. As we look at our television presence that Aurora has as the second largest city in a Chicagoland media market certainly helps us to do a number of things. It helps us to further publicize our events and our initiatives. It helps us to build relationships and partnerships. Whenever there's a story of something exciting or innovating happening in Aurora, we certainly get calls from other municipalities asking to benchmark those practices. In some cases, businesses calling and say, hey, I like that program. How do I sponsor or how do I support? And so television is extremely important for us as we extend that reach. And it helps to extend Aurora's brand and marketing as a whole. You know, there was a point in time where there was no television coverage here in the city of Aurora, and if it was always the negative things that were happening. So we're so grateful for things that are happening positive. So I'm going to take this opportunity to rewind us back a month to look at some of our major activities here, giving a shout outs to our community partners and our staff, beginning at the end of August over in Ward 3.
NBC5 News.
Lex, thank you so much. Tomorrow, the city of Aurora will open a brand new youth center. The city has reimagined the former Emmanuel Lutheran Church and transformed it into the Northern Lights Youth Center. The center will offer early childhood programs, STEM training, construction trades programs, art classes, and yes, there's even a workout room to get some exercise. A 15-year-old baby.
So we thank the Northern Lights Development Corporation, Aurora Housing Authority, and giving a shout out and recognition to our development services team, who really worked hard to make that project. We can give everybody a round of applause for making that happen. Shining a light on television positive in Ward 3. Next, the following week, we were over on the the near west side in Ward 4.
The city of Aurora made a big announcement today, ushering in a new future for a shuttered school building. NBC5's Christian Farr has the story.
There you go. All right. It started with a bell ringing.
It's very nice.
Followed by a ribbon cutting that put a spotlight on how an old school in Aurora became affordable housing for those who need it.
It means a lot that there's things out there to help people, and there's people out here that are willing to help people.
Today, the city of Aurora celebrated the transformation of Lincoln Elementary School into 14 new apartment units. The school had been shuttered for 15 years before the city made the decision to turn it into affordable housing.
As a child raised in public housing, it does my heart well to open another affordable housing opportunity and community in the city of Aurora.
Aurora's Mayor Richard Irvin also celebrated the opening of another 22-unit apartment building that sits right across from the 100-plus-year-old transformed school building. Some of the old school staff stopped by to see how the city turned their old place of employment into a housing complex.
It's a place that's going to be for families. They'll be able to afford it. They'll raise their children here. I can't be happier about it.
These apartments are truly nice with this beautiful cabinetry that goes along with this fully functional kitchen, 3 bedrooms, and 2 full baths, along with a gym that everybody in this complex can use.
It's a big open gym where there's not a lot of kids that are in it. They're playing basketball, volleyball, whatever in there. So that's fun. It's any kid's dream.
In Aurora, Christian Farr, NBC 5 News.
And that was James Stallman, 20-year gym teacher at the former Lincoln School. He said he can still make his jump shots and he can take anybody on one-on-one. He wanted me to pass that message on. But again, what a powerful project. We got so many calls from different municipalities saying, what's that formula like? You know, can somebody share with us, you know, how you're flipping these schools? So important that we give a shout out to Visionary Ventures, the Illinois Housing Development Association, JTE Real Estate, and again, our Development Services Division, giving them a round of applause as well. The next week, the next weekend was Fiestas, 15,000 plus people at River Edge Park, having a great time. The stories in Spanish, but you can still feel the love, even if the language is different.
Pues esperemos que así sigan, Héctor. Muchas gracias y nos vemos en solo momentos. Y bueno, fíjense que este fin de semana Aurora se vistió de los colores verde, blanco y rojo con las celebraciones por la independencia de México, pero también de otros países de Centroamérica. El festival contó con famosos como Lupillo Rivera, Alacranes Musical, La Original, Banda Limón y muchos más. Pero vamos a pasar con Ivonne Spitia, que nos tiene un resumen de estas fiestas patrias en Aurora.
Así es, Alfonso, estas fiestas patrias ya terminaron, pero la gente estaba súper emocionada y uno de los eventos que más esperaban era el grito, donde muchas personas gritaron ¡Viva México!, pero también hubo otras que se les aguaron los ojos porque nos comentaron que sentían nostalgia de estar separados de su país.
Extraño uno sus raíces. No es lo mismo estar aquí que estar allá en nuestras raíces mexicanas. Siente uno estar en México en estos momentos. El himno nacional. Siento un nudo a la garganta.
Me siento bien, ¿verdad? Pero a la vez triste porque estoy alejada de mis familias, yo estoy sola aquí y pues sí siento un poco de nostalgia porque se llegan las fiestas patrias allá del estado y pues en el pueblo es muy bonito, también se celebra.
Pues está muy bonito, todo el tiempo siempre venimos aquí nosotros a mirar, porque pues son las fiestas patrias de allá de nosotros. Bueno, en mi país es bonito, es muy bonito allá, pero pues se viene uno para acá ya por toda la familia que está aquí y pues ya en México ya no tenemos.
Pero más que una fiesta y una celebración o conciertos, eso también ha estado ayudando por 12 años a familias latinas, ya que realizan unas becas donde aportan dinero para que jóvenes continúen con su sueño educativo.
Para nosotros poder celebrar nuestra herencia hispana, no solamente celebrar, sino que recaudar fondos para que nosotros podamos regalar becas a estudiantes en nuestra área. Cada año nosotros tratamos de dar 30 becas de $2,000.
Pero además de la celebración, la fiesta, también hubo un momento muy importante que fue el desfile de banderas, donde varios niños salieron a representar cada uno de los países latinoamericanos. Luego de hacer una presentación en el escenario, se bajaron y recorrieron por la zona donde se encontraban sus asistentes. Alfonso, ese es todo mi reporte desde Aurora. Ivonne Spitia, noticiero Telemundo Chicago.
15,000 people. We're looking forward to seeing the final tally amount, but of course, in years past, we've raised over $100,000 per year and scholarships. You saw Zyra there, part of the Hispanic Heritage Board. We thank them. We thank the Aurora Civic Center Authority for their entire team. We couldn't do it without their professional nature that they do to put on large events. We thank our internal staff, particularly Tony Martinez, for taking the lead. From a city perspective, we can give everybody a round of applause for what a successful Fiestas Patrias that was. So important for us to be on the Spanish news stations, as we reach the broader audience of Spanish speakers, particularly in our community, but throughout the Chicagoland as well. That next weekend, that next Friday, we were back on the West Side for a special dedication.
Too often on the shuffle for
then
the
you
adults.
can't stop thinking about it, right?
Very cool.
Well, we love this story. A heartwarming moment at a suburban school today that we want to share with you. A longtime teacher was recognized with an honorary street.
Laura Wagner retired in the spring after 54 years at Holy Angels in Aurora. And NBC5 photojournalist Ron Zahara brings us this emotional celebration of her inspiring career.
In 1970, when I first came up those steps, I wasn't thinking about today or the years to come. I was just thinking, this is a new adventure. I think I'm going to like it here.
She's been such an impact on Holy Angels for so many years, and everybody that comes through the doors knows her. Like, my parents had her, I had her.
My family has the 6th generation of my family attending Holy Angels.
She taught for 54 years right here at Holy Angels.
I wasn't planning, I'm going to break a record or anything like that. I just got up every day and came to school, and I loved it.
She has provided so much to our young people for so many generations. So I believe it is our responsibility to memorialize her commitment to our city.
Make sure that your students know that you really care about them and how they're doing. I've been really, really blessed to be here for this time. And thank you all very much.
Thanks to Ron for capturing all those beautiful.
Longest serving teacher in Aurora's history. Big round of applause for Laura Wagner. And she continues to volunteer in tutoring and teaching those ESL. She was with us at the State of Education and said, look, she has free time. Put her to work. She wants to be out there and still working there. So love that as well. That was on Friday the 13th. On Monday the 16th, we kicked off back in downtown Aurora with a new initiative focusing on our young entrepreneurs and young barbers in Aurora.
Aurora is recognizing the work of barbers. Dozens of barbers will be on hand for breakfast later this morning to honor their work. Aurora is home to a number of barbershops, including Champions Barber University. The third Monday of September has been designated as World Barber Day.
And Lord, thank God for our barbers. I need to go see one right now. Things are getting a little shabby, especially on the sides. Anyway.
And you guys,
we brought together 40+ barbers in Aurora. First time to really look at that industry as more than barbers, but as mentors, as coaches, as advisors, as therapists. They're so intimately connected to our community and really want to help Aurora move forward by having their fingers on the pulse of the issues as that they hear from their chairs. And they spoke so candidly about what they hear and how they want to help Aurora move forward, and at the same time, how Aurora can help them in their industry. So they were sharing with some of the things that some of the professional development they believe they need in order to move Aurora forward. So we look forward to launching this and building a quarterly meeting with our Aurora Barbers Alliance. Another 20 have signed up since Monday. And just kind of letting that FOMO, that fear of missing out. They saw the publicity after Monday and they said, hey, we want to be a part. And so thinking from the Laura Wagner dedication in this, our community events team and our community engagement team for working so hard to put on these events. We can give them a round of applause. That'll be great. Literally 30 minutes after the breakfast, we transitioned a couple blocks over downtown Aurora, One Aurora Plaza, for our Mexican flag raising ceremony.
Today in the western suburbs, the city of Aurora kicked off Hispanic Heritage Month.
Proclaim Aurora support for September 16th as Mexican Independence Day in our city and throughout the world. Happy Independence Day, Mexico!
Aurora officials and community members raised a Mexican flag during a special ceremony. Hundreds gathered for the event, which included special mariachi performances and more. Leaders say this was just one way to show respect to the city's large Mexican community. Aurora is also planning several other events throughout the month.
Thank you to Alderwoman Garza, for your leadership and for being there. Thank you to Alderman Barrero for your leadership and for speaking. Thank you to the Deputy Mayor for being there alongside the Mayor. It was our largest Mexican flag raising celebration that we've done in the last few years, and we see how important it is to raise all of our cultural flags, but certainly with our Mexican community on Mexican Independence Day. Absolutely wonderful. Again, thanks to our community events team for pulling that together, and Mr. Jose Torres, who really helped to procure some of the entertainment. If we can give everybody a round of applause for that. That was on Monday. We're almost there. On Wednesday, we hosted the Mayor's State of Education Address.
Mayor Richard Irvin delivered his State of Education Address tonight.
I can say without a shadow of a doubt that the state of our education in Aurora is robust. The state of our education in Aurora is resilient. The state of education in Aurora is remarkable.
Mayor Irvin also honored the Kane County Educator of the Year, Cynthia Martinez, with the Mayor's Award of Excellence.
Had a wonderful night, bringing all of our educational continuum together from preschool to post-secondary education, almost 400 people at Aurora University. And really so many things have come out of that in this last nearly a week, including the commission, the Education Commission, and it's saying we need to do this regularly. We need to do this annually. Bring together Aurora's educators to really kick off the school year, kind of showcasing what we're doing. So we look forward to implementing that. And the mayor announced a number of other initiatives, including our new education division, which will be led by Dr. Jeff Craig, retired superintendent of District 129, annual Teachers of the Year or Educator of the Year award ceremony. Backing up to our barbershop, our Books for Boys barbershop initiative to increase literacy rates. Looking at the test scores, we see certainly our boys are reading at a lower rate than our girls. And then the Aurora's Promise program that you've heard about, the $50 bank account that will go to kindergartners in Aurora. We had students from East Aurora on the stage, younger elementary students that night who were in the dual language program. So although Spanish was none of their first language, they all speak fluently in conversational Spanish now at second, third, and fourth grade. And so just looking forward to watching that grow. Special shout out again to our community events team, our school districts, but to Aurora University for being such gracious hosts under the leadership of Dr. Susanna Rivera Mills. That relationship is 180 degrees different than it was in the past. So we can give them all a round of applause. Thank you. That was on last Wednesday, and on Saturday, we kicked off bright and early over in Ward 10 at the Route 59 train station. 2,000 Aurora residents recycling a large number of electronics.
Thousands of neighbors in Aurora came together over the weekend to help out the environment by safely getting rid of those old electronics. The city held its annual free electronics recycling drive-through event on Saturday. Leaders say more than 25 tons were recycled responsibly, keeping those outdated and unused electronics out of landfills. If you missed this weekend's recycling event, Aurora will hold another one in April next year.
2,000 Aurorans registered within a 24 to 36 hour window of time. 1,200 plus televisions, as you can see, of all sizes. 25,000 tons there of 50,000 pounds of electronics recycled. We know this is a need, and they put in a first-class show. If you go to the Facebook post of this, you see more than 130 positive comments from those 2,000 people that were there and how well run it is, how efficient it is. And that shout out goes to Ruthie Harris, Josh Alcaraz from the Property Standards Division, our entire CP AAA, our police cadets, our EMA volunteers who all work together, and volunteer Curtis Wilson as well. Everybody who all worked together to put on such a great show. We can give them all a big round of applause. Just two more as we wrap up this last month. That was Saturday morning, Saturday night. Something really special happened in downtown Aurora.
Aurora's deaf community is being celebrated. The city held its first ever Deaf and Hard of Hearing Gala. The gala brought together deaf residents, their families, and service providers. Mayor Richard Irvin was on hand and communicated with many of the guests using sign language. The mayor's former mother-in-law and aunt are both deaf.
Absolutely beautiful night, hosted by our Disability and Senior Services Division, Katrina Boatwright, partnering with community agencies, but you had to be there to feel the joy and the gratitude from our deaf and hard of hearing community. So many of them saying, we thought we were forgotten about. You know, we thank you for knowing that we're still here, that we belong, that we're seen, and that we're heard. And so we thank Katrina Boatwright for her vision and pulling it all together. We can give her a round of applause and the entire team at Community Services. What a special night. We're looking forward to watching that grow. And then just yesterday, we woke to some great news from our Aurora Animal Care and Control. Fantastic news.
Aurora Animal Care and Control celebrating after a record-breaking year. So far in 2024, Animal Control has transferred 367 animals out of the facility. That's 119 more cats and dogs than in 2023 alone. It's also the highest number of transfers since 2018. Adoptions take place every Monday through Saturday from noon until 4 p.m.
Two calls have come in the last day from animal care control facilities throughout Chicagoland, asking to be connected to Cameron and her team there, just to benchmark. What are you doing? How the heck are you breaking these records and having these great transfer numbers and adoption rates there? So important for us to be on a Chicagoland media market. Big round of applause for Aurora Animal Care and Control. Changing the game over there. So that's been our last month. There's so many more activities and initiatives that we could focus on. Just want to highlight that and our connection with the Mayor's Office of Community Affairs, with Communications and Marketing team. John over there is a ghoul who handles many of the media outreach as well. Just really working to keep Aurora in the spotlight and in the community. So many of these things, as you can see, all of them are community-based activities that the media is focusing on Aurora doing it correctly and Aurora doing it right. So congrats to everybody. And we look forward to a successful fourth quarter. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, we don't have any. Thank you very much, Mr. Muhammad. Great presentation. We don't have any mayor appointments this evening. Let's go on to public comment. Madam Clerk, do we have any members of the public wishing to offer public comment?
We do, Mr. Mayor.
Will you read the rules of public comment?
Pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, all persons shall be permitted an opportunity to address public officials under the rules established and recorded by the council. Under our rules, any person may address the city council for up to 3 minutes with a maximum of 30 minutes allotted for all public comment. No person other than the timekeeper or the chair for the purpose of maintaining order may interrupt a person recognized for public comment during his or her comments. Members of the city council shall not engage with nor respond to a speaker during the time set aside for public comment. Staff is directed to follow up with members of the public with respect to any concerns raised during public comment within the scope of the city's authority following the adjournment of this meeting.
Madam Clerk, will you call the first speaker wishing to offer public comment?
Keith Larson.
Mr. Larson, you have 3 minutes to speak beginning now.
Good evening. My name is Keith Larson, and I live in the 3rd Ward. I was here last Tuesday for the Committee of the Whole meeting to see what has been going on. Until earlier this year, I was not very tuned in to local politics and focused more on national politics, which I think is very common. But as I began to get more and more involved and informed, I have learned about big things that have happened without my knowledge. Most notably, 2 years ago, Aurora gave a huge handout to the casino, which had a revenue of over $2 billion just last year. I had no clue this was happening at the time, but I know there was pushback against giving this handout to a rich corporation that profits on the exploitation of our neighbors. Perhaps I'm partly to blame for being unaware, but I think many people are unaware of large developments like this that will affect the whole city, yet they get pushed through without transparency before most people even know that it is happening. That is not to say I'm opposed to all types of development. But we need to take a close look at what our community actually needs and whether proposed developments address those needs. Like many other cities, Aurora is lacking in housing availability, and additionally, housing is becoming less and less affordable for more and more people. One of the biggest current developments addressing housing availability is the East Bank development, which has a related item on tonight's agenda. Compared to the casino handout, this is certainly more relevant to actual issues in the city, but I worry about the second housing issue that is not being adequately addressed, affordability. It sounds exciting, getting new development downtown to bring in more people and business, but who is this really for? More and more people in Aurora are getting priced out of their homes and cannot afford apartments like these. Are these apartments for them or for people coming in from more expensive communities looking for housing that is only affordable compared to Chicago? That is not to say that people from outside of Aurora don't deserve to be able to afford housing, and I also don't believe this development is the biggest issue in Aurora. But it concerns me that more and more money is going towards developments that don't seem to be designed to benefit the many people in our community who are struggling. I live less than a mile away, and I love walking around our beautiful downtown, but I also see homeless people nearly every day and wonder what we as Aurora are doing to address their needs. I wonder what we are doing for the people who are not yet homeless but might be one day because they can no longer afford to live in the city where they grew up. It feels bad to see people struggling on the streets or to know that many more are struggling who are not in our direct line of sight. We are becoming desensitized to the various forms of suffering that surrounds us, whether it is in Palestine, Congo, or in our own backyards. But rather than ignoring these problems, I believe it is our obligation to help out however we can, and we need to keep that in mind no matter how much we insulate ourselves from the suffering around us. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, you call the next speaker.
Dr. Alejandro Benavides.
Dr. Benavides, you have 3 minutes to speak beginning now. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. I have 3 minutes and I have 3 agenda items. The first one is I'd like to recognize Mayor Irving's, professionally speaking, attack dog approach to the U.S. Census and challenging them to the undercount that we have in Aurora. It's an important endeavor, and I applaud you for that. We need to make sure that all our citizens are recognized and that Aurora gets all the money it deserves. So thank you, Mayor. The second one, I want to again applaud Mayor Irving for defending the police department's integrity and their honor. Thank you. Lastly, I would like to recognize Mayor Irving, Deputy Mayor Trujillo, and Clayton Mohammed for their support of La Hispanidad. The Hispanidad is a very simple ideology. The ideology is La Hispanidad is a community that embraces its diverse Hispanic cultures and embraces the Spanish language. What I would like to do is I would like to gift Mayor Irving a poster which I call La Hispanidad, and it has the artwork I had commissioned 2 years ago by internationally known Bolivian Lebanese artist, the late Domingo Parada. This is our image of what Aurora is, the city of La Hispanidad. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mohammed. Thank you, Guillermo. And thank you, City Council. I would say that now that my friend is dead now, that's worth a lot of money now. And the only other person that has a gift like that is the Honorable Juani Garza. Thank you, Juani.
Madam Clerk, do you have any additional speakers?
We do, Mr. Mayor. The next speaker is Mercy Galicia.
Madam, you have 3 minutes to speak beginning now.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for giving me this opportunity. I just wanted to thank Mayor Irvin again for recognizing the acknowledgement yesterday that we had, or Mr. Trujillo. Mr. Benavides had a presentation at the library, and it was really nice for the proclamation that you gave Mr. Benavides. as a Texan, I'm lost when it comes to the history of Mexico. I don't know it. I was raised in Texas. I was born in Texas, raised in Batavia. The history of Mexico, I don't know. But raised here, I consider myself an American Mexican, which is literally a Chicana or a Texan. Anyways, I came today because I am part of the board for Rita's Ministry. I am on the Texas, the Illinois Tejano organization. Rita's Ministry, I am helping them make tamales this coming weekend. So I'd like to just let the community know if anyone is interested in contributing or buying any. You can reach out to Rita's Ministry. It's $20 a dozen. We are looking or hoping that some of you guys would participate. Again, Linda Martin would be here if she was able to come, but she wasn't able to, so I said, don't worry, I will be there for us. So again, thank you for your time, and hope to see you guys at Rita's Ministry or at St. Rita's this Saturday. We will be making them from noon till about, whenever we get done, we've got about 140 dozen to do. Thank you again. Have a nice evening.
Madam Clerk, is that the last speaker?
It is, Mr. Mayor.
All right, let's go on to the next. Thank you, Ms. Galicia. Let's go on to the next portion of the agenda. Next, we'll hear both the consent agenda and the direct to council consent agenda in full. Will the clerk now please read both agendas in full?
240587, a resolution authorizing the city to accept a grant award of $51,000 under a grant agreement between the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission and the city of Aurora. 240627, a resolution to accept the $20,000 Advancing Economic Mobility Rapid Grant Award from the National League of Cities. 240630, a resolution to amend an existing contract for a 5-year IT service management software to Avanti of Salt Lake City for $129,483.05 and implementation services to Latest Solutions San Francisco for $29,700. 240644, a resolution to approve an agreement to maintain storm sewer between the City of Aurora and Kane County Forest Preserve. 240647, a resolution authorizing approval of the summer 2024 historic preservation grants and allowing the mayor to enter into historic preservation grant agreements and addendums. 240648, a resolution authorizing the Director of Purchasing to sign a 3-year service agreement with Central Square Payments for credit and debit card payment processing via Paya Connect. 240650, a resolution authorizing the Director of Purchasing to purchase video conferencing hardware and services for Aurora Branch Courtroom 2 from Burwood Group, Chicago, Illinois, for a total amount not to exceed $123,972.10. 240661, a resolution authorizing the mayor to reserve and appropriate funds for the proposed Eola Road Autumn Grove Circle to Wabansie Creek Trail Multi-Use Path Project, a shortlisted project for ITEP Grant 2024 Cycle 16. 240662, a resolution authorizing the mayor to reserve and appropriate funds for the proposed Ogden Avenue, US 34 Montgomery Road to Southern DuPage Regional Trail Multi-Use Path Project, a shortlisted project for ITEP Grant 2024 Cycle 16. 240673, a resolution to adopt the 2024 Kane County Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan. 240681, a resolution amending an existing agreement with Granicus, Denver, Colorado, to add a service request management system at an annual cost of $68,292.24, plus a one-time implementation fee of $65,565.96. 240699, approval of the minutes of the Tuesday, September 10th, 2024 City Council meeting. 240701, a resolution accepting the improvements and maintenance security for SEK Sure Bond Phase 1, 601 North Russell Avenue. 240702, a resolution accepting the improvements and waiving the maintenance security for East School District Number 131 Resilience Education Center, 417 5th Street.
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
There's been a motion made by Alderman Franco, seconded by Alderman Smith. before we entertain those motions, are there any questions, comments, or any motions to remove any items from the consent agenda or direct to council consent agenda? There being none, a motion and second on the floor. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Alderman Barrero.
Yes.
Alderwoman Garza.
Yes.
Alderman Masiacos.
Yes.
Alderman Donnell.
Yes.
Alderman Franco.
Yes.
Alderman Seville.
Yes.
Alderman Tolliver.
Yes.
Alderwoman Smith.
Yes.
Alderman Bug.
Yes.
Alderwoman Bade.
Yes.
Alderman Lash.
Yes.
Alderman Warman.
Yes.
12 yes, 0 no.
Motion carries. The consent agenda and direct to council consent agenda are both approved. Give me 1 second. What's that? All right, Madam Clerk, will you read the next items under on the agenda?
240612, an ordinance approving an amendment to the plan description for the Fox Valley East Planned Development District for property located at 4389 Fox Valley Center Drive.
So moved.
The motion made by Alderman Franco, seconded by Alderman Smith. It's just a regular item we're going to be voting on. Are there any questions on this particular items or in discussion? I'm sorry, Alderman Lesh.
Yeah, I don't know that we were ever made aware of.
Should I recuse myself, Mr. Mayor?
Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second.
There's going to be discussion.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
If there's going to be discussion, should I recuse myself and leave the chambers?
Are these
This is on the
both
deck development, right?
No.
No.
612.
It's the held items.
I'm sorry, my apologies.
All right.
I was just curious why somebody held it up and if that's been resolved.
I believe that at the last meeting, they were supposed to be placed on the consent agenda, and the applicants requested that they be held over. I don't know why, but we held them over and put them under held items.
No further questions.
All right, no further questions. Motion is second on the floor. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Alderman Barrero.
Yes.
Alderwoman Garza.
Yes.
Alderman Masiacos.
Yes.
Alderman Donnell.
Yes.
Alderman Franco.
Yes.
Alderman Seville.
Yes.
Alderman Tolliver.
Yes.
Alderwoman Smith.
Yes.
Alderman Bug.
Yes.
Alderwoman Bade.
Yes.
Alderman Lash.
Yes.
Alderman Warman.
Yes.
12 yes, 0 no.
Motion carries. The ordinance is approved. Madam Clerk, read the next item.
240613, a resolution approving a revision to the final plan for the property located at 4389 Fox Valley Center Drive for a kennel with outdoor pens
So
and
moved.
runs.
Second.
Is there a motion made by Alderman Smith, second by Alderman Franco? Any discussion on this item? There being none, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Alderman Barrero.
Yes.
Alderwoman Garza.
Yes.
Alderman Masiacos.
Yes.
Alderman Donnell.
Yes.
Alderman Franco.
Yes.
Alderman Seville.
Yes.
Alderman Tolliver.
Yes.
Alderwoman Smith.
Yes.
Alderman Bug.
Yes.
Alderwoman Bade.
Yes.
Alderman Lash.
Yes.
Alderman Warman.
Yes.
12 yes, 0 no.
Motion carries. The resolution is approved. Let's go on to unfinished business. Madam Clerk, you read the first item under unfinished business.
240606, an ordinance setting the compensation of the alderpersons for the terms commencing in and after May of 2025 in accordance with the Illinois Municipal Code and the Local Government Officer Compensation Act.
So moved.
Then a motion made by Alderman Franco. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second by Alderman Warman. Sorry about that. Alderman Warman.
I got a name tag.
Any questions or discussions on this item?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Buck.
Thank you. The Finance Committee took a long look at the compensation package, and over a number of weeks, we found out a lot of good new information. I handed out a copy of a form here that most of the aldermen have. I believe the alderman from the Finance Committee had it before, but basically in looking at compensation, comparing ourselves to other cities of our size, mainly in the Midwest. In the state of Illinois, we are kind of, we have an asterisk next to our name because there are no other cities more than 151,000 people besides Chicago and Aurora. So every time you do a comparison, you're comparing something that's 30 to 40% smaller than our city size. So we took a look at similar cities across the Midwest. The one that jumped out was Akron, Ohio. Their population is 190,000, nearly the same as ours. They have 13 council members, 10 wards, 3 at large. In the year 2023, their compensation was $34,700, and it's gone up from there. Currently, our compensation right now is at $23,660. The other two comparable cities, Grand Rapids and Des Moines, are also right near $33,000 and $35,000, considerably higher than what we are. So coming out of finance, we took a look at possibly doing a larger one-time, what I call a bump, a 10% increase. And discussing it with council members and taking a look at the numbers, you know, there's times where you have to add a larger amount so you can start to catch up. We basically got way behind during COVID. We were behind already, but during COVID we did a 0% increase, and then we did 3%, where inflation was at between 12 and 14%. So we were very far behind, and that's where we kind of stand right now. So I am going to make a motion for an amendment. But first I want to address one thing, and this came out during discussions with individuals. We do this process every 4 years, and in learning that might not be the best avenue to tackle this, and for a couple reasons. One, so many things could change. COVID, over a 4-year span. We have the opportunity to review this every 2 years, but we have not done that in the past. I think, and learning what we did through this process, I think would be an excellent. I'm going to move that we review this every 2 years. The other aspect, of course, is, and it's only for the people sitting up here, but every 2 years, 6 elected people are up for office. 2 years later, those people are up again, but they don't have this matter considered during their cycle. Only people on the on cycle, what's called the on cycle, who have their elections at the same time as the mayor. The people on the off cycle don't have this consideration. So it is a factor, and I know it, in talking to council members, it's a factor in some people because they're in the midst of, or will be in the midst of an election. So the people in the off cycle don't have that consideration. So I'm going to pass this down to anyone who doesn't have it. And then for the benefit of the clerk, I give my last one. So on page 3 of the ordinance, it goes forward and it says that we change the compensation as it read from January 1st, 2027 to May 31st, 2028. And then June 1st, 2027 to May 31st, 2028. My amendment is going to be at that time, that number get bumped to $32,500. The second line will read June 1st, 2028 to May 31st, 2029, $34,125, which is a 5% increase. And then the next two lines will be stricken. And the reason for that is like I said, we will not consider 2029 and 2030 at this time. We will consider that in 2 years and have the compensation going forward every 2 years for both the aldermen and the mayor. The mayors will be up in the next legislative item. So that is, this is for the clerk.
Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Franco, but go ahead, Alderman
With
Franco.
all due respect, I think the chair of the Finance Committee should see this before we vote on anything. This is pretty surprising, this came out this way, so I would like to see that, and I would like to be able to look at it a little bit as opposed to a couple-minute meeting amendment at this meeting.
Hold on one second, Alderman Franco. So there's a motion on the floor, so we're gonna ask for a second so we can have that discussion that you wanna have, Alderman Franco. But we gotta determine what exactly we are voting on, because currently in council, we may need you to clarify here. Currently, the procedure is to do this every 4 years, as Alderman Bug pointed out, on a year. It's on the year that the mayor's up. Alderman Bug, are you asking that we at this particular time change our normal procedure that we do as part of this amendment, or are we just talking about this amendment for 2 years?
Well, procedurally, we change it for 4 years. So just basically in reading the exact wording of the matter on page 3 of 3, basically you're just striking the next 2 lines. Nowhere in the document does it say you have to consider.
So right now,
for 4 years.
I just want to be clear.
Okay.
So right now, we're simply just talking about you amending simply for 27 and 28. And then we'll talk about whether or not we revisit this in 2 years or 4 years at a later date in finance or in RAP. But right now, we're simply talking about the increase for 28, 27, 20, and 28.
And eliminating 29.
And eliminating 29, 30. That's the motion you have.
Yeah,
on the floor
eliminating
right now.
29 and 30. Correct.
Based on these numbers. All right, so there is a motion on the floor, just so we're clear what that is, just to talk about 27 and 28. We're not talking about changing procedure today. We're just talking about the dollar amount is listed on this document, which is June 1st through 2027 through May 31st, 2028, $32,500 increase, and June 1st, 2028 through May 31st, 2029, additional increase on top of that takes the pay to $34,125. That's all we're considering right now. So that motion is on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
There's been a second motion by Alderman Lash. Now, discussion. Alderman Franco.
Well, so I understand where Alderman Bug is coming from. I really wish it would have come at a Finance Committee meeting, because I would like to talk about what percentages we're talking about. We're just throwing out numbers. Is there a percentage that gets you from A to B to B to C to C to D? I'm just trying to figure it out, because typically that's what we do. Every contract we do in the city is a percentage-based thing. So I don't see percentages here. I just see numbers. So is there a percentage should be in between some of these lines? Is that what we're looking at that we're not aware of?
No. We just went with a straight bump, which we've done before.
Well, wait. When have we done? I don't know. I mean, maybe before I became alderman we did, but everything we've done since I've been here has been a percentage base, which is, I'm not saying we can't do that, but I don't remember a bump to a number without how to get from point A to point B percentage-wise.
When we were considering in the past, we looked at the mayor's salary, we went from $114,000 to $144,000. We did a $30,000 bump. That was approximately 8 years ago, maybe 9 years ago.
No, we've always, well, I shouldn't say it, because I've been this is my 3rd time on the Compensation Committee, so that would be back at least 8 years. I don't remember ever having a raise without a percentage there. Now, you could go up that much, but there's a percentage tied to that, because I think going forward, if you don't have percentages tied to that, then it's just, I won't say it's arbitrary, because we do take a lot of things into consideration, but it seems like it would be better well presented if there was a reason, a percentage we did that for. So if you want to go to 32.5 for 2027, how do we get from before to 32? That's kind of what I'm looking at. I just think it's cleaner and better Because again, this is what we do throughout the city for contracts. This is how we give people raises. If we want to give them a 30% raise, fine, but it's a 30% raise as opposed to saying it's now this. So I'm a little concerned about not having percentages brought in between this. Even if you get us there, I'm concerned about not having percentages do this, because I think that would skew things going forward. And then how do we tell constituents how much of a bump we got? Well, I don't know. We just kind of threw out this number we thought was fair. And I don't know if that's the way we want to go when we, proceed with communicating that to our constituents.
Okay. So as we did 8 years ago, we did the $30,000 bump for the mayor. We looked at the numbers. We saw that the mayor was in the mid to low level in comparables. So instead of doing a 5, 10, whatever, we just said, we're going to move this $30,000. That's going to put him in the range of being compensated where he should be. And looking at the numbers, going back and forth, about a $7,000 bump, a little bit less, to 32.5, still does not get us to the range of these other cities. We're still low. It's not even getting us there yet. It's getting us closer to the other cities. After that, for the next year, it's 5%. So you do the bump, and a number of other cities, that's the reason I put the last city on there, although it's not in the Midwest. Richmond, Virginia, their population, 229. Their salary this year is $25,000. And next year, it's going to be $45,000. They just said, we need to do a bump, a $20,000 bump, to get them to a compensation which is comparable to other cities in their size and the amount of work that those councilmen do. So this is, and actually coming out of COVID, this is actually, I would say, the standard, but a lot of cities are doing this because everyone fell behind during COVID, not just us.
Any other comments or discussion? Alderman Warman, then I'll come back to Alderman Smith.
Does this include the $90 stipend we get? Is that compared to other cities too? So this will be 32 plus, what is it, 9,000 a year that we get if everybody attends, what, 2 meetings a week?
Oh,
Or something, you take a week or two off? So
No,
does not
this
include that? So
is
will be-
just base salary.
And the other comparisons that you did do they have that in there when you said Akron was at, whatever you said it was, 35,000? Do they get a stipend as well too? Or is it, did they just get a straight salary and have to attend the same amount of meetings and everything?
Across the board, different cities handle it differently. That's
So-
kind of why, you can't compare benefit packages. Some have a large benefit package, some have a car allowance, some have this, some have that. That's why we've always just looked at salary straight, and then, we have the benefit package, but we really that just continues.
And I disagree with that, because I think you gotta look at the entire benefit package, because with the benefits, health benefits, and with the stipend and thing, I think you have to compare apples to apples, and I've said from day one that if we're gonna compare ourselves to other cities, we need to look at the entire picture. I feel we're not getting that with just salary alone, so.
Alderman Smith.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I think we just need to clarify that this conversation does not apply to any of us up here, because in 2027, at least half of us could not be here. We may not get elected back into our position. So this is about the future of Aurora, not today, not tomorrow, not even in January.
And before you go on, Alderman Smith,
Yes.
I just want council to explain, just so everybody understands, how does compensation work as far as an alderman voting on it today and receiving benefit or not receiving benefit for it while they're in office?
Sure, Mr. Mayor. There's a well-settled policy and state constitutional provision that prohibits effectively any elected official from adjusting their own salary. So for that reason, during the term of office, the salary of an elected official cannot be changed. So any changes to the compensation of any elected official cannot take place during that person's term of office unless it's set in advance of the term. The second provision to consider is the Local Government Compensation Act, which requires that salaries be set 180 days before the commencement of the term of office, which is why this council is looking at doing it now in advance of the April election. The one thing, though, I would suggest that the council consider, that though it might be more desirable to discuss this type of compensation adjustment for aldermen every 2 years as opposed to every 4 years. The difficulty of doing that with a staggered board where not all the aldermen are up at the same time creates a situation where you're going to be doing 2 years, then 2 years with no adjustment, and then 2 years with an adjustment in order to keep all the aldermen on the same compensation. Otherwise, because the terms begin at different times, you're going to have off-cycle adjustments that aren't going to apply to all aldermen equally. So that would be the thing to consider as you're doing this. How would you ensure equity in terms of compensation, which is a policy decision rather than a legal decision, but how would you do that if that's something that you want to do?
Honestly, I'm sorry, I just wanted to explain that legally, just so.
Thank you. So what I wanted to add to this conversation is if we did the 10%, it appears, the numbers I have in front of me, in 2027, the salary would go up to $28,146. If we did the bump that Alderman Bug is talking about, it would be $32,500. So, which is about a $4,354 difference. I think it's really important for people, as we're talking about this in the public, that they understand the numbers that we're talking about. We currently make $23,660, plus we get paid $90 per meeting, correct? So we're not sitting up here getting rich. So regardless of which way we go here, the compensation, I believe, is very fair for the work that we do. We often sit up here and we say, our city is worth it. We're building this because our city is worth it. We do this because our city is worth it. So as we think about our compensation, let's think about what we're worth as well. These are written to be part-time jobs, but anybody sitting up here knows that this is not a part-time job. If it was a part-time job, the only thing I'd be doing is answering phone calls and answering emails, and not all the other things that go along with it. So I'm open to discussion. I'm not against either one of these or for either one of these, but I would like to hear what the other aldermen have to say, because I think it's important for all of us to have some input on this. This is about all of us,
Alderman
if
Seville.
we're here in 2027.
Alderman Seville.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I do want to reiterate and second what our Corporation Counsel had said with regard to the staggered policy and off-cycle. Early on this form of government, when it was changed in 1977, the aldermen in practice put together their first pay increase, and it was this, it did take effect in different years, and the aldermen got together and says, you know, this is not fair. It should be done all at once, if at all, to make it fair to everybody serving on the council at that point in time. So since that period of time, back in the late 70s and early 80s, when they did realize that, it's been a policy of the city to the council to do it in such a manner where it's fair to everybody, regardless of the cycle that you're in.
Any other question or discussion? Alderman Leish.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So what I understand between what Alderman Seville and Legal said, that it becomes more complicated and you have different pay scales if we do it every 2 years. That being said, I understand the rationale behind it, but I would be more in favor of, I do think, you know, voting for all 4 years and approving those numbers tonight or at a future date. But I also agree that Alderman Bug has done a lot of homework on this, and the idea of giving a one-time bump and then percent after that is a good approach to leveling out with some of the others. And then finally, I sat through some of the finance meetings, and we did hire Korn Ferry and paid him about $25,000 to come up with this analysis. And one of the questions I asked them was about the $90 stipend, and I asked Korn Ferry, is this common? And they said it's very common, and they did not include it in their analysis. So it might be true that Akron might have a $75 or $50 stipend and somebody else might have a $100 stipend. We did not pay to get that analysis, so I don't know that should be factored in, but according to Korn Ferry, the stipend per meeting is a pretty common thing. So I don't know where it ends up, but if we move to amend Alderman Bugg's amendment to include all 4 years, I would be in favor of these numbers that are on the sheet that he's provided.
Any other comments, question or comments? Let me, and if you don't mind, let me just have council say, as far as timing goes up to the next election, how much more time do we have to make this determination?
You're roughly looking at about the end of October, working back from the second Tuesday in May as being the traditional time for the commencement of the terms. So that's
So
about
as long
where
as
you're
this
looking.
decision is made by the end of October, okay. Now, I just want to say, you know, as someone who was an alderman for 10 years and worked with many of you as my colleagues, I absolutely agree with Alderman Bugg and Alderman Smith in the value of our aldermen, the fact that they should be adequately compensated for the hard work that they do to make our city the city it is today. I absolutely agree with that. However, I will say, Alderman Bugg, what I don't agree with, and I think you're unfortunately putting the alderman in a position right now, this is, to me, looks like it's reasonable, everything that you, even all 4 years. However, if there is a vote against this today, it will not be what you are suggesting. I agree with Alderman Franco, absolutely. This is something that should have gone through finance so you guys can talk and hash all this out before we get to this point. Because if we get a no vote on this, you're not getting what you deserve. And even if you get a yes vote on the amendment, we don't know if we're going to get a yes vote on what you amended it to. So what I suggest is you guys take it. We got time, as the alderman as council just pointed out, to make this determination by the end of October. What I suggest is you guys go back to finance, make sure you confirm these numbers that Alderman Bugg put all this hard work, you know, into, which makes sense to me, and have the chair of finance, and I believe you're the vice chair of finance. You guys talk about it amongst yourselves so you can come up with a determination of how you want to proceed instead of throwing the dice here at City Council and not necessarily getting what I believe you aldermen may deserve. Go ahead, Alderman Frank.
So, Mr. Mayor, I would agree with you. Process is important. We had an opportunity in finance to get these numbers here. I was looking lower. My colleagues thought we should go higher. I was all on board with that. And I would have been on board with the process to get us to this, but it has to be the process. It can't be less. If somebody from the Finance Committee has an idea and they share that at this moment in time, we didn't do our job earlier, so we should go back. We can get there, but we need to do it via the process. That's how this works. That's how it's clean. That's how everybody respects the process. This is how it's going to work. So I would agree with you. We could bring it, since we have time, bring it back to finance. If we want to get to these numbers, let's have a way of getting it, discuss it, and bring it back. And it'll be a lot cleaner and a lot better when we do that.
And I will say one more thing, you know, Alderman Bugg, although it may seem like these numbers look extreme, this is over a $500 million budget, you know, with wards that are over 19,000 residents, you know, dealing with everything that you do, you know, from the 9th ward to the 10th ward to the 1st ward. But this is, as Alderman Franco pointed out, this is process. If you want to ensure that we get to these numbers, you got to hash it out in finance. Alderman Lesh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I understand the idea of going back to finance. I do think that when things come, what I've seen happen on the council is that when they affect us, whether it was the how we spend our ward funds or this that affects our compensation, it seems to take up a lot of people have different opinions, and that perhaps the best place to incorporate everybody's opinion is at CAL instead of finance. It's not a slight to the finance process, but or if people would all weigh in and share their thoughts on this, that would help the chair and vice chair of finance sort this out with respect of process.
One of the difficulties, I think, with giving this back to finance substantively is the Open Meetings Act, because we're within 48 hours of the next finance committee. So if finance was tasked with it this week to do a substantive recommendation on it, we wouldn't be able to put it on that agenda. What I would recommend, though, is possibly that finance have a non-binding discussion, which it's allowed to do at that meeting, and then potentially at the next COW meeting next Tuesday, have that discussion again, and then COW can send the revised compensation matter to the City Council the following week. This way, finance weighs in, COW weighs in as it ordinarily would, and all that's missing is the official vote from finance.
So what you're saying is actually hold the actual item here at City Council, and then just go back non-binding discussion in both finance and COW, just with some numbers, and then come back to City Council and leave the item here on the agenda?
It would, if we're going to send this anywhere else, I would send it to COW just based on the timing issues with the Open Meetings Act. It doesn't preclude finance having a discussion about it, it just can't take any final action.
So what you're saying is, don't leave it at City Council, send it back to COW, however, have a non-binding conversation about all these numbers in finance. So at next COW, which will be next in 2 weeks, we'll have it on the agenda and be able to.
1 week.
One week.
So I have an alternate suggestion, and that's, what you're saying is very reasonable. What about a special finance committee meeting? We do that. So we would have 48 hours, depending when we schedule that, to make sure we get it done in time. I get about, Thursday, I get that. But a special finance meeting, would that work?
We could have that
also?
anytime.
You would have to do, in order to do that, and if you wanted COW to weigh in on it, you would have Friday or Monday as your two options, or potentially before COW on Tuesday.
RAP committee is before that.
So that's.
I'd like to weigh in on that.
Alderman Smith?
I think it should go to COW because, again, this has got to do with all of us. This has spent a lot of time in finance already, and I think it needs to go at COW so that we can all weigh in, because this is about 12 aldermen, not just 5. It has been at finance for a few weeks. They have had multiple conversations about this.
Well,
Mr. Mayor?
Alderman Bug, but just before Alderman Bug speaks, it's still going to be talked about in finance. It's
Yes.
non-binding. So what I
Right.
suggest is
Well, I don't think
everybody
you need a
actually
special
go to
meeting for
finance.
it. I don't think you need a special meeting.
Alderman
for it,
Bug?
I guess is
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
I appreciate your comments. Although a lot of what we're discussing tonight was discussed in finance. So everyone has seen the numbers from the other cities. Our discussion in finance over a number of weeks was.
Did you have these?
I
did you have
talked
these
about
numbers?
the bump, and we were deciding how much that bump would be. That was a whole 2-week discussion. The number that came out was 10%. That's what came out of finance. That's what the chair proposed, and that's what the votes overall would back. In talking to the full council, the full 12, and getting additional information and getting additional opinions between Cal and now, it was clear that the 10%, and in looking at the numbers of the other cities, at 2030, we're still going to be 20 to 25% behind them. I mean, we're bumping, but there's really no movement in the long run, especially if a city goes from 25 to 45 immediately, a $20,000 bump. Then they're there, then they start doing 3% or 5% or what have you. So we've had a lot of this discussion. We just need to come up with a good number. We could discuss it more. I think it's best, like Alderwoman Smith said, best discuss it at COW because it impacts all 12 of us. So, I mean, the 5 of us could talk about it, but in the end, it directly impacts our positions, not us as sitting aldermen, the position that we hold.
Well, I'm going to ask one thing, Alderman Bug, and then we'll make a determination of which route you're going to take. Will you at least withdraw your motion to amend for now, and then we'll send the item back to, or we'll determine if we're going to send either back to COW or all the way to finance with the special finance meeting. But just as far as the item that's on the floor now, will you withdraw that?
Yes, I withdraw
the
motion.
I'm sorry, can you, Alderman and Lash, both, who seconded, do you withdraw?
I will withdraw my second.
All right, so there's been the motion and second are withdrawn, so we're back at where we started. So now we have to determine, are we going to send it back to finance, or we're going to send it back to COW with a discussion at finance that's non-binding?
So explain to me the legalities or the non-legalities of a non-binding discussion. How does that happen? Because I don't think I've ever been partake in a non-binding discussion, because I know there's certain rules and regulations.
Provided that you have a noticed meeting, you're able to discuss anything of the public concern. You just may not take final action on it. The only exception would be at a special meeting where you're confined only to what's on the agenda.
So how does that discussion take? You inform the people we're going to discuss it, but we don't do it here? We do it via emails, via, how are we going to?
Where you have the same exact discussion you would normally have, except you don't forward it 5-0 or 3-0.
So we're having a meeting?
You're having a meeting, talk about the same thing, come up with whatever numbers you want to come back, and then it automatically goes to COW.
So on Thursday, for example, when you've completed the
So we can do it
agenda
on
items.
Thursday. That's kind of what I'm getting to. How and when do we do that? So we can do it on Thursday.
Yeah.
Non-binding,
exactly right.
that would be at that meeting.
At that
And
meeting.
then we can go forward from there because there's no decision being made. Okay,
Right.
I just want to know time-wise and how we do that because I know there's legalities when you talk about things offline.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you're not taking anything offline, you're doing everything in the
Right.
context of an open meeting. Because you're not taking final action, you can discuss it at a regularly called meeting.
Okay. Then I would suggest we go that route, because I do believe that at the end of the day, to get to these numbers, if these numbers are appropriate, we gotta have a process to get there. And if that's assigning a percentage to each one increment, I think that's a better way to go than the bump. If the bump, I just think that's how we've always done in the past. So if it takes a 20% bump to get us to 32.5, that's what we use. At least we can explain that's how we got there and why we got there. I just think that's better because it goes along with historical precedent and how we do that. So I absolutely.
So can I have a motion to send this item back to COW?
Second.
There's a motion made by Alderman Tolliver, second by Alderman Smith. Do we have a roll call or all? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so the motion is this has been sent back to COW. However, there will be discussion, and who's going to put this on the finance agenda for the discussion to be had?
It won't be on the agenda, but the chairman can,
Yeah, I'll bring it up.
at whichever point in the meeting it seems appropriate, can
Okay.
call it for discussion.
All right, well, that gets us past that item. Madam Clerk, you call the next item. 24-0607.
240607, an ordinance setting the compensation of the mayor to be elected in 2025 in accordance with the Illinois Municipal Code and the Local Government Officer Compensation Act.
Second.
There's been a motion by Alderman Smith, seconded by Alderman Franco. Any question or discussions on this item? There being none, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Alderman Barrero?
Yes.
Alderwoman Garza?
Yes.
Alderman Masiacos?
No.
Alderman Donnell?
Yes.
Alderman Franco?
Yes.
Alderman Seville?
Yes.
Alderman Tolliver?
Yes.
Alderwoman Smith?
Yes.
Alderman Bug?
Yes.
Alderwoman Bade?
Yes.
Alderman Lash?
No.
Alderman Warman?
Yes.
10 yes, 2 no.
Motion carries, ordinance is adopted. The next item being 24-0692, before we have the clerk read the title of the item, Alderman Masiacos will be recusing himself from this item, so we'll give him an opportunity to leave the city council chambers so we can discuss this matter. Madam Clerk, as Alderman Masiacos leaves the city council chambers, can you read that item?
240692, a resolution approving a third amended and restated redevelopment agreement between the City of Aurora and Illinois Municipal Corporation and DAC Development LLC.
Second.
Been a motion made by Alderman Smith, seconded by Alderman Garza. Are there any questions or discussions regarding this resolution? Alderman Lash.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just try and briefly share my thinking with the rest of the council on this item. I wasn't on this council when the original agreement was made with DAC developers. But for me, the way I'm looking at this is just another form of corporate welfare and misuse of taxpayer dollars. I know it's been also coined as investing in ourselves, but I feel like it's corporate welfare. Secondly, let's look at exactly what we are subsidizing. Number one, the developer paid way too much for this property when they paid $1.8 million. At the time of purchase, the equalized assessed value was $45,000, which means the purchase price should have been in the neighborhood of $140,000, $150,000. Remember, the council at that time considered that the property was blighted. Secondly, we're subsidizing a banker who hiked their interest rates from 8% to 14%, effectively loan sharking. And third, there's the cost of inflation and increased construction costs, which I get, but at the same time, every single household in Aurora is facing increased inflationary pressure on their household budget for higher gas prices, higher food prices, and certainly higher real estate prices. So literally, we're asking the hardworking people of Aurora to subsidize a Chicago developer, a banker, and a real estate speculator who was overpaid for the property. And in exchange for this subsidy, what are we getting out of it? These are not affordable houses for people that live in Aurora. $1,700 for a one-bedroom or $2,300 for a two-bedroom is absolutely ridiculous, out of line for this market. And the end result is that we're literally asking the Aurora taxpayers to dig in their pockets and price themselves out of their own community. And I've heard from some members of this body comment in the Finance Committee meeting and share their concerns about the astronomical cost of these apartment buildings. But it's not okay just to share your concerns. I think if that's how you feel, you need to vote no, and I'll be voting no on this agenda item. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Yes.
Alderman Smith?
Yes, could we please have a 1 minute discussion with someone from staff about exactly what the taxpayers will be paying to subsidize this
Mr.
project?
Debo? Or anyone you want to bring up with you? Mr. Minnick?
Did you understand my question?
So her question pretty much was, how do we get a return on our investment? Alderman Lash suggested that the taxpayers will be footing the bill for this, which is absolutely incorrect.
I want to know
Would
what the
you explain
taxpayers
why
are
that's
paying.
not the case?
Yeah.
The whole premise of the TIF district is that, but for the incentives that are being provided, that the development would not indeed occur. And, I would note that in this particular case, there were some extraordinary circumstances based on both the location of the property and the circumstances under which the original RDA and the timing of the development occurred vis-a-vis the pandemic, that just are extraordinary circumstances that just typically aren't present in typical development situations. And what I'm speaking to specifically is that the environmental, the site preparation, the remediation that has to go in this particular case that was not discovered during the initial phases of the core sampling of the particular site, as well as the outmoded demolition and practices that were utilized to mitigate some prior uses. These items do occasionally occur within redevelopment situations, and they contributed significantly to the cost increase, and in fact are the major cost increase for the resulting in the restatement and the third amendment to the development agreement. And David, I don't know if you had anything to add?
I think you were also suggesting whether taxes would go up as a result of.
My
the reason
question
I thought
is
that
specifically, what is, my colleague is suggesting that our taxpayers are subsidizing this project and will be paying money out of their pocket to subsidize it. So
And-
my
and that's why I turned it over to you
question
in-
is,
in terms of
what will they
your-
be paying out of their pocket?
Yeah. Yeah. No, we do not anticipate that there would be a tax increase as a result of this particular amendment to the redevelopment agreement.
So the residents of Aurora will not have to pay any additional money out of their hard-earned money for us to move forward with this project. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes.
We're positive on that.
Yes, and that's why I turned it over to the
And-
CFO, because he does the
And
budget.
apologies if I misunderstood.
And Mr.
the
Mayor, just to be clear, they get paid by the value they create, which is called the increment. They create the value, and they just get a portion of the value they create to afford to pay for this development, correct?
That's correct.
But for them creating the value, there'd be no value there, nothing from the get.
Correct.
Alderman Seville.
Just to further clarify that for people here at the City Council, what that means is the business development itself is paying for it out of this increment. It's not coming from any other money source across the city. It's coming from this development itself.
That's correct.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? Are there being none, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
I had a question.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to miss you. Alderman Burrow. Is your microphone on?
I turned it off. My question is, what is the impact of the change in interest rates on this project and to the city's cost sharing of this project?
So we did negotiate a sharing of a potential upside if the costs do go down. So when the interest rates go down, I mean, we have had a rate cut. Maybe there'll be more of it, but if there's a sale of the property, then it'll be measured in terms of what the actual costs were and the differential, and we share, and we have a chance of getting some of that $1.7 million back, which was not the $4 million, which was the environmental foundation issue, but we negotiated a potential to get some money back if in fact there's a cost savings. So interest rate reductions would, for instance, if the plumbing was less, it would be a cost saving. If the interest rates were less, it would be a cost saving.
Correct.
Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Alderman Barrera,
Pass.
Alderwoman Garza,
Yes.
Alderman Donnell,
Yes.
Alderman Franco.
Yes.
Alderman Seville.
Yes.
Alderman Tolliver,
Yes.
Alderwoman Smith,
Yes.
Alderman Bug,
Yes.
Alderwoman Bade,
Yes.
Alderman Lash,
No.
Alderman Warman,
Yes.
Alderman Barrero,
No.
9 yes, 2 no.
All right, motion carries. The resolution is adopted. All right, we'll have Alderman Mesiacos come back in. All right, let's go on to the next item, 24-0693. Before I have the clerk read this item and the discussion, Alderman Warman will be recusing himself. So as Alderman Warman leaves the city council chambers, let the record reflect, I'm going to have the clerk go ahead and read the item.
24-0693, a resolution approving a redevelopment agreement between the City of Aurora and the Barrera Organization, LLC, for the renovation of the property located at 116 West Galena Boulevard, Aurora, Illinois.
There's been a motion by Alderman Smith, second by Alderman Garza. Questions or discussions on this item? Alderman Lesh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick question for finance. I know that the 1.3 million is coming from riverboat funds, but I think I'd ask you also, in addition to that, what is the amount that this developer expects to get from the existing TIF over the course of the remainder of life of that TIF?
The developer would be receiving, under the terms of the redevelopment agreement, would be receiving 80% of the incremental revenue stream that his project generates. So in other words, it will be tracked specifically to this development in the incremental stream that comes from this particular project.
So in addition to the 1.3 million, then that 80% of the revenue that's generated from the increased assessed value.
That is what the redevelopment agreement.
Do we have a dollar amount on that?
There is on the projections that were in your package, so you take a look at the, I don't have it in front of me, but I remember the numbers. Let's say in an average year, I think right now the taxes are $4,000, so if nothing happens, that's all that would be. We think the taxes will go up to, let's say, $20,000 or $25,000. So let's say a $20,000 increment over the remaining life of the TIF. So maybe, 20 years left, 18 years left. So maybe another $350,000, I think.
Yes.
Again, it's my estimate.
So just what you said is important, to be clear. Currently, the taxes are $4,000, right?
Correct.
So if he only makes $4,000, he gets 80% of that. No, actually, he doesn't even get that $4,000. That's a base. So let's say he makes another $4,000 on top of the $4,000 tax. That's only gets 80% or $4,000, correct?
Correct.
So it's up to him to create the value, that $25,000 a year or $250,000, for him to get 80% of it. Correct?
That's correct.
That is correct. That is correct. And then
eats what he kills.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the answer.
Simple as that, right?
And, other than that, Ms. Mayor, it's not the ideal, what I would like to see, but I think it's a good start for this building. So I will be supporting it, and I appreciate the answer.
Thank you.
Alderman Garza.
I have question for Mr. Barrera. I read the little micro apartments. So they want to be, I'm saying for students, but they want to be, you want to have a criteria for rental to make the agreement only for one person? Or how you want to control that? Because in the future, I don't want to see overcrowd in a small micro units.
Correct. So there will be one person allowed for under 400 square feet. Anything over 400 square feet will be a max of 2 people.
Okay. And the other question I have, in the basement, they want to have a laundry or no?
No, so there will be no laundry in the building.
Okay. But they have basement, right?
Correct. It has a basement, but it's
So what they want to do in the basement?
just for storage for maintenance.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? There being none, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Alderman Barrero?
Yes.
Alderwoman Garza?
Yes.
Alderman Masiacos?
Yes.
Alderman Denal?
Yes.
Alderman Franco?
Yes.
Alderman Seville?
Yes.
Alderman Tolliver?
Yes.
Alderwoman Smith?
Yes.
Alderman Bug?
Yes.
Alderwoman Bade?
Yes.
Alderman Lash?
Yes.
11 yes, 0 no.
Motion carries. The resolution is approved. We can have Alderman Warman come back in. The record reflect that Alderman Warman has returned to the City Council chambers. We're going to go on to new business. Is there a motion to suspend the rules, consider items under new business? There's been a
Second.
motion made by Alderman Smith, second by Alderman Garza. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Alderman Barrero?
Yes.
Alderwoman Garza?
Yes.
Alderman Masiacos?
Yes.
Alderman Denal?
Yes.
Alderman Franco?
Yes.
Alderman Seville?
Yes.
Alderman Tolliver?
Yes.
Alderwoman Smith?
Yes.
Alderman Bug?
Yes.
Alderwoman Bade?
Yes.
Alderman Lash?
Yes.
Alderman Warman?
Yes.
12 yes, 0 no.
Please read the first item under new business.
240596, a resolution authorizing the acquisition and acceptance of a land donation to the city of Aurora known as parcel 1515073.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Smith, second by Alderman Garza. Any question or discussion on this item? Alderman Lesh.
Just what is the intended use on our end?
Is there someone from staff?
Alderman Patrick Collins, the Law Department. We don't have an intended use at this time. He's donating it to us for free. It's in the development area around there. That's a key portion for any development we do in the future, to the access portion to begin there. We own some land north of that on Indian Trail, but we have no use. He came to us and approached us with the donation.
Is there anything more you want to add, Mr. Curley?
Maybe just to reiterate, Assistant Counsel, the purchase or the acceptance would be a strategic acceptance for control of what could happen to help developments along the river that would match our comprehensive plan that you all have approved for several years. Without it, we don't have an access point that's going to be required for fire access to this location under our control.
Alderman Seville.
Yeah, just to clarify, since this is in my ward, the map that we have shows the outline of the street, line court, and line place. That's what we're accepting today?
That's correct. It's currently
It's
owned.
not the land that's on the river?
That's correct.
Correct.
It's line court.
Okay, and does this individual own that land along the river?
Yes, it was his grandparents that then went to his father that now is his.
But currently, the land on the river is owned by a different individual, not the individual that's donating the land.
That's what I was asking.
Land court
Yes.
to us now.
So it's a different individual?
That owns the land on the, yes.
Right, okay, thank you. There used to be the 3 homes on those individual lots back in the day. And I think one was a 2 unit, so, okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? There being none, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Alderman Barrero?
Yes.
Alderwoman Garza.
Yes.
Alderman Masiacos.
Yes.
Alderman Donnell.
Yes.
Alderman Franco.
Yes.
Alderman Seville.
Yes.
Alderman Tolliver.
Yes.
Alderwoman Smith.
Yes.
Alderman Bug.
Yes.
Alderwoman Bade.
Yes.
Alderman Lash.
Yes.
Alderman Warman.
Yes.
12 yes, 0 no.
Motion carries. The resolution is approved. Madam Clerk, read the next item under new business.
240712, a resolution establishing the maximum number of Class A beer and wine only liquor licenses unofficially related to the application from El Paso Mas Grande Incorporated at 2134 West Galena Boulevard.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Franco, second by Alderman Garza. Any questions or discussions? Alderman Seville.
Yeah, just to let the council know, this is an item that we discussed today at the PHS&T meeting. This is for package sales at the new the new grocery store that's opening up. Actually, the ribbon cutting is the 9th, and the grand opening is the 12th, and this is for package sales only for beer and wine. So I'm sure the owners would like everybody to show up, so it's going to be a good day.
No tequila? I mean, we'll talk, brother. We'll talk.
I asked that question.
Any other questions or comments? There being none, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Alderman Barrero.
Yes.
Alderwoman Garza.
Yes.
Alderman Masiacos.
Yes.
Alderman Donnell.
Yes.
Alderman Franco.
Yes.
Alderman Seville.
Yes.
Alderman Tolliver.
Yes.
Alderwoman Smith.
Yes.
Alderman Bug.
Yes.
Alderwoman Bade.
Yes.
Alderman Lash.
Yes.
Alderman Warman.
Yes.
12 yes, 0 no.
Motion carries. The resolution is approved. Congratulations, you got your new liquor license for package sales. We'll talk about that tequila a little bit later, though, brother. Madam Clerk, read the next item under new business, last item under new business.
240715, a resolution approving the First Amendment to the Sun Code leases at the Aurora Municipal
So moved.
Airport.
Second.
Been a motion made by Alderman Smith, second by Alderman Franco. Are there any questions or discussions on this item? Alderman Lesh.
Just a real quick question. The purpose of the Second Amendment is just to push responsibility for dealing with the FAA onto the solar company. Is that the purpose of it?
Patrick Collins, Assistant Corporation Counsel, yes.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Any other question or discussions? There being none, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Alderman Barrero.
All right, quick and
Yes.
simple, brother.
I didn't hear you, sorry.
Yes.
Thank you. Alderwoman Garza.
Yes.
Alderman Masiacos.
Yes.
Alderman Donnell.
Yes.
Alderman Franco.
Yes.
Alderman Seville.
Yes.
Alderman Tolliver.
Yes.
Alderwoman Smith.
Yes.
Alderman Bug.
Yes.
Alderwoman Bade.
Yes.
Alderman Lash.
Yes.
Alderman Warman.
Yes.
12 yes, 0 no.
Motion carries. The resolution is approved. There are no reports for this evening. Is there a motion to approve and pay the bills as listed on the bills list? Motion made by Alderman Smith, second by Alderman Franco. Are there any questions or discussions on the bills or any motions to remove any items from the bills list? There being none, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Alderman Barrero.
Yes.
Alderwoman Garza.
Yes.
Alderman Masiacos.
Yes.
Alderman Donnell.
Yes.
Alderman Franco.
Yes.
Alderman Seville.
Yes.
Alderman Tolliver.
Yes.
Alderwoman Smith.
Yes.
Alderman Bug.
Yes.
Alderwoman Bade.
Yes.
Alderman Lash.
Yes.
Alderman Warman.
Yes.
12 yes, 0 no.
Motion carries. The bills are
Motion-
approved before.
motion to adjourn.
No, hold on one second. Before, there is no need for a closed session, but before we accept that motion from Patty
NBC
Smith to
Fox.
adjourn, we got an invitation to the council and the residents of Aurora.
Yes, yes. My apologies for not doing this at the beginning. We have an exciting weekend this weekend. We want to make certain we invite all of our city council members. On Friday is our first ever fall food truck festival. You know, Aurora Downtown's held their spring festival for a number of years. Now the city is stepping in to do a fall food truck festival. 26 food trucks. I'm expecting the community to come on out, downtown Aurora, free admission. We're just going to have a great time this Friday from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. on the Benton Street bridges. The next day, we have the Fall Family Festival, Ward 10, 2 to 5 p.m. at Butterfield Park. Going out there, support Alderwoman Bade in Ward 10, their Fall Festival. And then in the afternoon and the evening on Saturday is Aurora's first ever A-Town House Music Festival.
I pledge allegiance to the house sound. It's a groove that will always be around. So I'm the one sent here to announce that you can't stop the house.
Featuring such pioneers like Mike Hitman Wilson, Julian Jumpin' Perez, Tim Spinning Shomer, Mike is right here from Aurora, along with Kenny kicking Cahill. And our icon herself, Cece Peterson, the queen of house music.
Jack your body at Aurora's A-Town House Fest, celebrating 40 years of house music. House music all night long, right?
So we're going to have a great time at River Edge Park. Come on out. The mayor has announced today he is also implementing a percolator competition. So any of you want to do the percolator for $1,000 grand prize. So come on out. We're going to have a great time. It's going to be our the first ever fun inaugural A-Town House Music Festival, starring Cece Peniston, the queen of house music, and our ambassador, king of house music, Farley Jackmaster Funk, and so many local entertainers and Chicagoland regional entertainers, including, again, Mike Hitman Wilson, one of the pioneers of house music, raised right here in Aurora over on Lily Street in the First Ward, graduated from East Aurora High School, and we will be dedicating that street in his honor at 12 o'clock on Saturday as a 40-year pioneer of house music. So we'll see you Saturday at River Edge Park.
And before we close out, I just want to say the tech contest that we're having, where somebody could win $1,000. You got to be a minimum of 40 years old to get in. You know, yes, minimum of 40 years old. Exactly right. To celebrate the 40 years of house music. So y'all folks that's 40, get your stretch on. Make sure you stretch before you come out there dropping it like it's hot. Doing the percolator.
I would like to speak with legal about this.
Alderman Patrick getting ready, man. And he may win. There's been a motion to adjourn by Alderman Patty Smith, second by Alderman Franco. All in favor? Aye. This meeting is adjourned.